It looks like a supercar, it goes like a supercar, but is it a supercar? If you want to judge something's supercar credentials, then there's no better place than Italy, home of the supercar, and home of insanely good motorway coffee. We're going to go to the most amazing supercar playground. Until we get there are a few other bits of the McLaren that I think are really worth mentioning, particularly based around the fact that it's, well, just so usable. So let's go and have a look. Of course, one thing McLaren's always had has actually been remarkably practical. We've got these amazing doors aping the McLaren F1, but they're now open close to the car, so you don't ding things like this Audi. It's easy to get into too. The doors are surprisingly heavy, but they are now soft close. It's worth mentioning there's more storage space as well. You've obviously got the big boot in the front, but because the engine's lower, you've now got more space back there for the model cars that you've bought in the petrol station. Your Argo. Nice and secure. After filling up, we head back onto the Autostrada and settle into the journey. A journey that had started early in the morning back on the streets of Rome. Managing the morning maelstrom of Italy's capital is no easy task in a Punto, let alone a performance car. But the 720S's new Mono Cage 2 gives it incredibly slim A, B and C pillars, meaning you have wonderful visibility in traffic. Once on the motorway, the 720S shows its GT credentials. Even with a sports exhaust, it is amazingly hushed in the cabin. In fact, it's so quiet it's hard to tell what sort of motor is propelling you. V6? Hybrid? Electric? Surely not a big V8. The ride quality in comfort mode no longer has the slightly floaty quality of a big bumps that the 650S had, but the dampers take the edge off impacts beautifully, meaning the whole experience is very refined. Gradually, the Autostrada gets more dramatic as it makes its way over long sweeping bridges towards the snowy peaks. And then finally, with the mountains filling more and more of the wraparound windscreen, we turn off and begin climbing through the wooded foothills. So once you've enjoyed its GT credentials on the Autostrada and arrived calm and relaxed at your supercar playground, what does it feel like when you start to pick up the pace? The clever work done by the new proactive chassis control that meant it felt so unruffled on the motorway also serves to make light work of the broken tarmac on a B road, meaning you can carry speed almost regardless of the surface. The other thing is that the amazing airy cabin, beautiful sightlines that were so good in town for avoiding scooters, mean that you have this amazing view out of the cockpit. You look through the corners. That view can be improved even further by folding the dash away, leaving with just enough information but also minimal distractions. Climbing higher into the mountains so the speeds increase, and it becomes clear just how quick the new 720S is. That might sound ridiculous. I mean, of course something capable of 0 to 100 miles an hour in just 5.5 seconds is going to be ridiculously rapid, but the sheer gut-wrenching force that the acceleration inflicts on your body has to be felt to be believed. If you like cars purely for their pace, if speed is what gets you out of bed in the morning, then this is your new best friend. If you couldn't afford 2 million for a Chiron, then I think 710 brake horsepower and 1400 kilos is a pretty good substitute. This is so fast, it's almost like teleporting between the corners. It's not got quite the response of a naturally aspirated engine, but when it comes on boost, it is mind-boggling. It's just as well that the brakes on this, the brake pedal is fantastic. You've got so much feel right from the top of the travel. And if it wasn't like that, you wouldn't have the confidence to push so hard and drive this thing anywhere near its limit. The limits are staggeringly high. It's quite intimidating because unless you turn ESC to dynamic, you see this traction control light flickering away like it's a Christmas decoration that's discovered it's the 1st of December. It's not just this 4-litre twin turbocharged V8 that makes it feel so fast either. The gear shift is sensational. It is so fast. Wow. What a road as well. It's always easy to get sort of blasé about these double clutch gearboxes, but I mean, you couldn't have a manual in this or anything. Wow. I love these seats as well. I wouldn't have the standard seats, I don't think, because when the buckets are this good, again, putting you in exactly the right position. The traction control, when you have it in ESC Dynamic, really does help you. It's actually much friendlier than you think over the limit. It's just the limits are so high. Why isn't this a supercar? Why have I even questioned this? Well, if I'm honest, after the 675 LT, which raised all our expectations of what McLaren was capable of, the sound of this, certainly in sport mode, just doesn't quite get the spine tingling like you expect. Even a turbocharged V8 like our old friend the AMG GT there, it makes you want to crack the window down in a tunnel.
Whereas the 720S, well,
it's sort of loud, but doesn't exactly make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. The steering can seem a little light as well. It's not quite brimming a feel, so through the corners you're never quite sure just where the front end is.
as we reach the top of the road, it's time to stop, take a breath, and have a think. Rather like the design, which I think you appreciate much more once you've had a chance to walk around it and look at all its details, I think the 720S needs a bit of time behind the wheel to really understand what McLaren was trying to achieve with it.
I've no idea who Giuseppe and Maria are, but I think I'm starting to understand the 720S a bit more. McLaren said they wanted this really broadly capable car, and it's more of a rival for something like a 911 turbo, I think, than almost a Ferrari 488. It has the turbo's, I suppose, ruthless performance, but also that real everyday usability. The trouble I have is that you look at a 911 turbo when it's parked up, and, well, you don't look at it, do you? People don't walk around it taking photographs, but you park this there and everybody crowds around. It has theatre on the outside, just not so much on the inside. It's a different concept. Perhaps it's a match made in heaven. Just like Giuseppe and Maria.
Of course, to some, the idea of creating a usable supercar will always seem oxymoronic. But think of it like this. Because it does have those everyday usable Gran Turismo credentials, it means you don't mind driving for hundreds or even thousands of miles to reach somewhere like this magical mountain playground in the Abruzzi Apennines. This is the Gran Sasso d'Italia, the great rock of Italy.
I love Gran Sasso. What a place. I mean, yes, of course this is a supercar. I was being slightly facetious at the beginning of this film, asking that question. But what I mean is that McLaren is sort of showing that, yeah, you can have a car that you can use for 200 days of the year, not just 20. And yes, you might lose a bit of the spine-tingling nature, but sometimes I think that's what customers want. It's what they like about the MP412C. They could use it a lot. If you want something for high days and holidays, no, perhaps this is not the car for you, and hopefully the LT version will provide that. But it is its own thing. And it is ridiculously fast.